Hey you guys, I've tried to make this video a bunch of times. It hasn't worked out so far because it either gets too political or I leave something important out. So I'm going to try to keep everything in mind. I understand I don't usually do videos that are political, and I will try to keep this non-political because the reason why I want to do this video in the first place is I'm a political science major, but at the same time what's special about this channel is we don't talk about political science. Or I don't. I guess it's kind of a one-way street with these videos. But the point is that I'm going to try to keep it non-political, and I'm just going to try to tell you the facts and what I think about the show. Because I've been watching Glenn Beck's show since he was on CNN, so a long time. And it's been I watch it fairly regularly, 2 to 3 times a week. And I just wanted to talk about it. So without further ado, I'll try to not keep it political. If I do, I'm sorry. But I'm not going to make another one of these videos. I'm like on my 12th time and I'm tired and I'm just going to say it. Okay, so let's get down to the show. The show, if you've read above, is being canceled. Now, if you're a Glenn Beck fan, don't worry, he's going to have the ability to do specials. So, you know, there's been a lot of theories to why he's been canceled. There's been a lot of attempts to get his show canceled. So what finally did Glenn Beck in? Now, while a lot of people have said, you know, did the lefties finally get to Fox News? And there's been a lot of theories, but I think the most accurate one, in my opinion, is the fact that Glenn Beck's show was not making enough money. And if you're Fox News, you don't want to have a show that's not making a lot of money. But Sean, how can the show that's crazily popular not make money? Well, that's the thing. First off, the show did not have that many sponsors. It had lost 300 sponsors. And if you don't believe me, watch Glenn Beck's show and count the commercials. Different commercials, I mean. Not, you know, the amount of commercials. That will come out even. But count the differential nature of the commercials. And then compare it to, you know, a regular TV show. Not even another news channel. Because Fox usually has a fairly... Or compare it to another Fox News show. Like O'Reilly even. And you'll find that there's a lot less commercials in Variety. And that's because of efforts and because a lot of companies did not want to have their products associated with Glenn Beck for whatever reason. And the other major factor is that while this was the case prior, he made up for it because he had such huge ratings. He had potential because he had huge ratings, and a lot of the stuff that he was selling, you know, actually a lot of people were buying and da-da-da-da-da. So he was making do. But the most recent development, I think, crippled him, which was he went from, his peak was in July 2010 or June. I think it was June. And he fell from there to now 30%. 30%. That's a lot. That is a lot. I mean, just let that sink in. You know, 30%. Now, that's a lot of people to lose, and I think it changed how much money he was bringing in, you know, the ratio, basically. Well, if you're not, and the company realized that it was probably going to continue to drop, and if it continued to drop, is he going to make as much money? No. So, they decided to cancel it. But I think the reason that he was bringing in less viewers is because, well, first off, the reason why I think he lost a lot of sponsorships is because whether you like or dislike Glenn Beck, he said a lot of things that people did not or thought were controversial. Did not like or thought were controversial. And that causes sponsors to get nervous because you're alienating market, you know. And if you're a company, you want to make money. If Tommy's not going to buy your product or Jill isn't because Glenn Beck said Jill sucks or Tommy's an asshole or something like that, that's not good. So, basically, they pulled him. There was also campaigns about it. There was a lot of people that tried to get him to lose a bunch of sponsors, and maybe they succeeded, could be an argument. But I think the reason why he lost viewership, why the ratio changed, is primarily because of two factors. Number one, his show focused on he suffered from the cry wolf scenario. What's the cry wolf scenario, you may ask? Well, Sean will answer like this is a giant, huge new concept, even though everybody probably knows what he's talking about already before he's talking about it. Basically, let's say you're in the woods, you see a wolf, you cry, wolf, people come running, they're like, why, what's going on? And you're like, ha ha ha, there was never any wolf, kind of scenario. And basically what happened is he basically cried wolf about economic crises, other theories, and yes, sometimes you could make an argument that they happen, but I mean, let's be honest here, it's a little bit of a stretch. Once again, I watched the show, just watch old Glenn Beck episodes and listen to what he was saying was going to happen in like 2010 even, if you were in 2008. It didn't happen. I'm sorry, I know the recession's bad, but what he predicted doesn't have causality, basically. What he said was going to happen because of such and such didn't happen, or if it did, it didn't happen because such and such, oftentimes. Now, maybe he got a few right. I don't want to get into it. But the point is that he suffered from that. So a lot of people lost interest because, it's the end of the world. Oh, wait, no, it's not. Okay, well, I guess Glenn Beck says it again. I just want to eat my sandwich. You know what I mean? People kind of just got tired of it. And he lost a lot of extra media attention. A lot of shows that talked about him on a regular basis stopped because everybody knew Glenn Beck be talking about how there would be economic ruin and such, So he lost that kind of movement. The other thing is that the Republicans won the midterms. And what does that mean? Well, it means that he doesn't have that foil. Before, the big complaint that arguably was accurate was that the Democrats could do what they wanted, kind of. Well, not really because of the filibuster, but let's get past that. The point is that they could get things through. Legislation got through. Big government legislation. Ooh. And basically it got through, and it offered the ability to have a political foil. But when the Republicans got in, he lost that, basically. The Republicans right now are debating cuts in government. Well, if you're Glenn Beck and a lot of your theories hinge on the government continuing to expand and take over more and more everyday parts of our lives, I think that's a fair account. I'm not trying to get political, but you know what I'm saying. If you watch the show, I'd say some of his theories relied on that. And if they're talking about cuts, I mean, whether that's naive or not, that means that a lot of people are just going to not believe you if you're saying the government's going to expand. Or they're going to say, oh, the Republicans are going to take care of it. Kind of like with the Democrats when Obama got elected. Oh, Republicans are trying to do that. Oh, Obama will take care of it. It's kind of like that, What else? And I think he lost the ability of that foil, so he lost ratings because people were worried about other things, or they moved on, I mean, I think you can see it with the Tea Party's drop in numbers. Like, I'm not saying that the Tea Party's dead, but I am saying that it's not as vibrant as it used to be. I think that's a fair assessment too, personally. If you disagree, you can comment below. Of course, they probably have more establishment political power. I'll throw that in too. But beyond that, I think that it's important to understand what Glenn Beck did to the news media. I want to check how much time I've got. Okay, so what did Glenn Beck do to the news media? Okay, so let's understand how political news started with 24-hour news. Basically, you'd have three individuals come and talk, basically. You'd have the host, you'd have a Republican, and a Democrat. Now, initially, the host was fairly neutral, or would try to stay neutral, and the Republican and the Democrat would say, oh, you're stupid, oh, you're stupid, and you find the middle in between them, kind of. I'm flicking people off in England, so I'll try to stop that, sorry. Anyway, you find the middle in between here. But eventually that was, not enough. So they bring in the host, and the host was more partial to one side. Well, what did this mean? Well, if you're in an argument with somebody, you might be able to perfectly argue another person. But if you're arguing that other person and the host, you're at a disadvantage. I mean, just because they've got more brain working for them. I mean, and they've got more mouths, and if you're the host, you control the debate. So you ended up having the development of opinion journalism on TV, kind of, or you'd have it be more slanted than it had prior, it had been. And you'd have them talk to eventually one or two correspondents that just agreed with them. But what Glenn Beck brought to the scenario that is significant, there's been a couple of attempts, but he was the first one to really break through, I'd say, with it, is having you by yourself basically talk about your ideas. And it was a slow development in the show. Initially, you'd have a lot more guests on, and double check the time, guests on, but eventually he ended up just talking by himself for most of the show. And then eventually multiple shows, and then it kind of just became a thing. And what this meant was that he had complete control over the debate. So while there had been a foil, or there had been kind of a center, and then the left and the right, now there wasn't. Now it was just the host and his opinion. And it functioned in a way of making things that might not have sounded accurate more accurate politically. It basically, Americans, for whatever reason, tend to want to be in the center, whether they are or not. You can ask yourself, where do you find yourself on the political spectrum? If you're like most people, you say probably the middle. A lot of people aren't in the middle politically. They aren't. I mean, a lot of people that claim it. So there's that's kind of my point, is that it allowed a lot of people to more have the ability to believe that they weren't on the far right or the far left. Eventually, this has ended up getting transferred to other shows. Arguably, what was his name? Oberman did that too, but he had more correspondency, so it wasn't exactly the same thing. In general, there was a tendency slowly to this. It's just Glenn Beck was the first one to really do it. And he deserves some credit for that, I guess, if you consider it a good thing, or if you don't, then he deserves credit for a whole nother reason. But yeah, I think that is a significant move in the media coverage. Now, other shows have not fully adapted this concept, but you can see how, if you're trying to get an opinion across, you would. Anyway, I don't want to make this into another video because a couple times I've talked over, so that's why I've been checking the clock. I think this video is good, so I'm going to stop it. I hope you've enjoyed it. I tried to keep it not very political. Anyway, yeah, so big news. Have a great day. Subscribe, comment, rate.